So welcome back aliens, this is Navin Reddy from Telusko Learnings, and in this video we'll try to learn how to work with UDP sockets. So we'll be doing a socket programming but not with TCP this time, we'll work on UDPs. In fact, I have my earlier videos in which I have showed you how to work with sockets using TCP. In this we'll work with UDP. The steps are almost same. You have to create a socket, you have to send data to the server, and then server will do something for you, you will get the response. So what we'll do is, from a client machine, we'll send a number to the server, and server will try to calculate the square of it. Okay, so we don't want any fancy operation here. It's just that we need some simple operation. The main thing is that we need to understand how to send data from a client machine to the server machine using UDP, and then how to get the response. So what we'll do is, we have a package here. I've already created a project and a package. Let me get a class here, and we'll name this class as UDP. It's UDP client. Okay, so we can have any class name, that's okay. So we can say we need a main function here, and what else? Now to work with UDP, what we need is, now since in TCP first we create the connection and then we send data, right? So in TCP, let me repeat the same sentence, when in TCP we create the connection and then we send data. So when you send data, you don't have to mention to which server you want to send data because you already have a connection. But in UDP, you don't have a connection. So every packet should know where it is going, right? So if we talk about TCP, it's a connection full protocol, and UDP is a connection less protocol. So UDP we don't know, your packet don't know where to go. So your packet need to be mentioned. In your packet you have to mention that you have to mention the IP address and the port number, since we don't have a connection. But of course we need a socket there, right? So we cannot use normal socket here. To work with UDP, we require a special socket called as datagram socket. So we'll name it datagram socket, and we'll say this is, so we have to import the package for this, and package is imported. So we'll say ds equal to new datagram socket. Okay, so just have to create a socket, no need to mention any IP address, because socket will not know which server you want to connect with. It is your packet which knows about it. It may happen that your datagram socket may throw an exception. Let's say it throws exception. Okay, now what next? To send the data, first you need to take the input from the user. So we'll do one thing. Before that, let's create a value. We'll say I equal to 8. Again, we can take the input from the user. We can write scanner class and all those stuff. Just to make it simple, I'm using my own data for that matter. Okay, now once you got this data, you want to send this data to the server, right? And when you want to send the data to the server, we need to use something called as datagram packet, because datagram packet is something using which you can send the data. So your 8, you want to send this 8 to the datagram packet. So we'll name this as datagram packet as dp equal to new datagram packet. Now whenever you want to create a datagram packet for sending data, you need to mention 4 parameters. Okay, so let me write these 4 parameters here. That's weird. Okay, so the first parameter, first, second, third, fourth. So the first parameter you have to mention is the data which you want to send. The second parameter is the data length. The third parameter you have to mention is the IP address, and the fourth parameter you have to mention as a port number. So let's start with the first one. So the first parameter is, you will mention the data. So I will say, oh, hold on, but the problem is it will accept the data in a byte format. Okay, so when it say it will accept only in byte format, what exactly it means? So yeah, it will accept you a byte array format, not exactly byte, but byte array. So you have to convert this I, which is int variable, into byte array. How can I do that? So we'll say byte. How to do that? A bit tricky, but you have to say byte array. So we'll say byte array, we'll name it as b equal to. The problem is you cannot convert I into array of bytes, so we have to first convert your byte into string. So when you say I plus double quotes is a string, right? And then we can say dot get bytes, because get bytes is a method which belongs to string object. So now when you say I plus string, it will give you a string. Then you are saying get bytes, it will give you 8 in a bytes format. Okay, and then you can send that data here. So we have to send b. Then you have to send the b.length, that means the length of the bytes. That's the thing you need here. And we are getting an error because I made a mistake. Okay, that's weird. Okay, and what else? Okay, so we have to pass two more parameters. The next parameter is the IP address, and next parameter is the port number. To make the IP address, what we'll do is we'll use the advantage of init. I mean, we'll use a class called as init address. We'll say AI equal to init address dot get bytes, not get bytes, get localhost address. Now, once you got the localhost address, we can pass that AI here because the server and the client are on the same machine. We'll say IA, and then we have to mention the port number. So we'll use any available port number, which is I will use 9999. So of course on the server side we need a socket which accepts this 999 thing. Now once you got the data, we'll send the data. We'll say ds.send. That's how you send the data in this, and we will pass dp. So dp is a packet you want to send. So you're sending this packet dp through the socket. Now once you send the data, of course we have sent the data, right? And let's say on the server side we have the data, we are processing it, and we are doing all those stuff. After processing, your server will send you the response, right? So you have to also accept it. Now how do you accept the data? So again, to accepting the data, we require a new datagram packet for accepting it, and we are assuming that server will send you a data. So we'll say datagram packet, we'll say dp1, which will accept the data for you. We'll say datagram packet again. Now when you accept data, we can use one more byte array which will be helpful for accepting data. We'll say byte array, we'll say b1 equal to, now since this b data came from I, but this b1, okay, let me just write it here itself, but this b1 data will be coming from, we don't have data right now, right? So we'll simply create an array of bytes, and the size of it will make it as 1024 just for using it. And we can pass that byte here. So we can say byte, and we'll say b.length. So while receiving it, you don't have to mention the port number. It's just while you're sending it, you have to mention the port number. Okay, so that seems good. And now what next? Now once you have specified this, now we can directly receive the packet. So we can say ds.receive, and we can receive that data into dp1. So in dp1 you got the data, and let's print that data. Now how do you print it? We can say string str equal to new string, and we can write dp1 dot get data. That's how you can fetch data from the user. Now once you got the data, let's print it on the system. We'll say system.out.println, and we'll say result is, and let's print str, and that's it. Your client side is done. So once you run this code, your client side will work, but the missing part is the server side because we have not written the server part yet. So what we'll do is, let me just verify if my this thing is working. I mean, the recording is working. Let me open Sublime. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so let me create one more code for the server. We'll right click here, we'll say new, we'll say class, we'll say UDP server. So that was the client, and let's create a client now, a server now. For server, we require public static void main, which accepts string arguments. Okay, now once you got a server, what you need on server side? First of all, when you send the data from the client side, you need a server using which you can accept the data. So for that, you require datagram socket, using which you can accept the data. We'll say ds equal to datagram socket. So while you're accepting data, it is compulsory for you to mention the port number here, because when a client sends the data to the port number, you have to mention the port number there, and it may throw an exception. We'll say throws, because your client will send the data to this port number, right? So that port number should be working. So that's why you have to mention the port number here. Now once you mention the port number, we'll try to accept the data from the user. Now from the client. So for accepting the data, we require datagram packet. So remember to Use a socket, we use datagram socket, and to receive the data we require packets, or to send or receive the data we require packets. So we'll say this is dp equal to new datagram packet. Now while receiving it, you just have to mention the byte array again, because whenever you work with datagram packet you require a byte array. So we'll say byte array, we'll say this is b1, because of course we need to send it, we require b2 there. We'll send, okay, we'll say new byte by specifying the size with 1024. Okay, and let's receive that data in b1 here, and this is b1 dot length. Okay, now once you create the packet using which you can, if you can receive the data, we got the packet, let's receive that data in the packet. So we'll say ds dot receive, and we can mention dp there. So in your dp, now you will have your data which is coming from client, but I want to fetch the data from it, right? So we have to create a string in which you can fetch the data. We'll say new string, and in bracket you can mention dp dot get data. So using get data you can fetch the data from the client, and now it is there inside your string. But hold on, I want to perform an operation, right? I want to perform a square operation here. So for that we require int num. So this int will be coming from str. Now how do you fetch data from str? So you have to say integer.parseInt. If you pass str here, so it will take your string, it will convert that into a number. So it will, if you receive 8 in string format, you will get a number format there. Now once you got the number, you just have to say int result, which will have the multiplication, the square of number. Once we got the result, now I want to send this data back to the client. But hold on, how do you send data to client again? That's a tricky part now. Okay, so to do that, what we'll do is we require one more datagram packet which will send the data to the client side. We'll say datagram packet dp1 equal to new datagram packet. But while sending data, you have to mention the port number also, right? But I don't know the port number here. Okay, which port number it will be using. So what I can do is we have to mention 4 things. We also have to mention the IP address, right? So we'll say inet address ia equal to inet address dot get localhost address. We got the IP address, but we are still figuring out how to get the port number. So what we'll do is we'll first send the data first. We'll say, okay, for that I need an array. That's a different thing. I need a byte array. We'll say this is byte array b2. Now this data will be coming from result. So we'll say result plus string, because we have to first convert that into string, and we'll say get bytes. Now I have to send that b2 here, and then we have to mention b2 dot length. That will be for length. Then you have to mention the IP address. So while receiving, you don't have to mention anything, but you have to mention only byte array and the length. But while sending, you have to mention byte array, you have to send the length, you have to also mention the IP address, which is IA, and you have to mention the port number. So the port number will use the same port number for receiving. So the port number which we have used for receiving will use the same thing. So dp dot get port. So get port will give you the receiving port number. So we'll use the same port number, and at the end we can simply say ds dot, we'll use the same socket, and we'll say send. We have to send dp1 now. So we have received in dp and we are sending into dp1. This is that simple. So from the client side, you are creating a socket. Okay, first let's run this code. I doubt it will work. Well, let's run this. So server is running now. There is no issue. Server is running. Oh, I've run the client first. That's wrong. First you have to run the server, right? So I click run the server. Oh, not this one. Run the Java application. You can see your server is running here, and let's run the client. Let's run the client here, and you can see client gives you an error. It says number format exception for 8. That's weird. Okay, it is not able to convert that 8, maybe because the way I'm sending that data here is through, okay, where is that thing? Okay, I guess it is also appending the string. Okay, this is not working. So what we'll do is we'll use string dot value of, if you pass I, it will give you the integer value. I think this should work. I hope that is the issue. Let me just close this. An error normally comes, right? We should not fear about errors. And let's run this code, run as Java application, that is your server which is running now. Let's run the client, run as Java application. Oh, again it is giving you an error. Error is for it is not able to convert the data from DP. It should, right? Because, okay, I guess I have to mention the dp dot get length. Is that the problem? I don't think so. Everything seems good here. Oh, I guess it is adding the extra space there. Let me remove this space so we can say dot trim. I guess there is something wrong with this space. That happens. Let's run the server again. Run the server and run the client. Here we go. We got the answer as num is 6, right? Oh, that's weird. Multiplication cannot be 6. What it is doing there? I guess we have to mention the length also. There's some issue with the operation, nothing else. Because it normally works. I don't know why it's not working here. Run as Java application and run as Java application. Hey, why I'm getting 6 there? Something wrong with the data. I'm getting the result str here. When I'm sending it, how I'm sending it? I'm using this. Okay, let me just use string dot value of result dot get bytes. Let me run this again. Even client result is coming as 6. Let me just debug the application. Let's check what is coming from the server side. I mean, what is coming from the client side to the server. Let's print this data first here before converting that number into string. We'll say str plus str, so that we'll know what exactly the client is sending to the server. And you can see client is sending. Okay, use the client window. That is your server. Yeah, client is server is sending 8. So you can see server is receiving 8. So there is no issue on the server side. And when you find the multiplication of it, which is okay, let's print the num here. I doubt there's something wrong with, maybe there's something wrong with the num. While conversion, let's say num plus num. Run and run. Let's verify the server. It's here. Num is also 8. There is nothing wrong with the num. Then multiplication should be right. Of course, it is nothing wrong with the multiplication. Okay, then it should be 64. Okay, it's not printing the last 4 part. So 8 into 8 is 64. Then the client side is not printing the last part. That means client is not able to receive the whole complete data. Okay, let me say get length. So let me print everything, and now I think it should work. Oh, it's still not working because what is the issue? B dot length, everything is proper here. We are getting the bytes, we are getting the port number, we are sending the packet. Let's change the operation. If I change the number, let me just check if I changing the number. The main thing is we should be able to send the data from the client and server, right? The main is not the operation. We are getting 4. It is not working for multiple data. There's some issue with the conversion here. And where should be the problem? Maybe I'm not sending the proper data or the length or something in that way. Am I receiving the right length? Oh, that is the mistake. when we say length, it should be B1, right? We have searched everything and the problem was there. Weird, right? If I change the data now to H, and if I run this, finally we got 64. There was something. So you can see, right, that one mistake, it is leading to everything is going wrong. So that's how you work with UDP, and that's it from this video. I hope you enjoyed it with bugs and the things. Since I have not run this code before, that was the one mistake I did. So that's it from this video. Thanks so much for watching, and do subscribe for further videos.